Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. I'm still participating in the Thankmas donation drive if you are interested in helping kids in poverty get some food in their mouths. Go ahead and check the links in the description for Thankmas. You can donate directly to the Thankmas campaign, or you can donate through the Critical Reactions campaign. It all goes to Red Nose Day, which makes sure that kids in poverty get fed this season. All right, let's move on to why most of you have probably come here, clicked on the link, not to listen to me talk about raising money for charity. Unfortunately, I think it'd be a pretty cool gig. Sitting around, just kind of entertaining people all day, 7 days a week, entertaining people so that we can raise money for various fundraisers. That sounds like a killer job, actually. I would love that. All right. So we are looking at a band called SHREZZERS. Why is it so hard for me to say? And as you can see, we are pulling in some YouTube comments again. It has been a while since I've done this. I'm trying to reincorporate YouTube comments into this so that people can actually see that they're being appreciated, that their requests are being heard, and responded to. So. We have Cybreeder GN, Mike C, Oscar Brash Music, Kevin McGuire, Stephen Olson, The Subsistence, Annabelle B, Steve Olejnik, I hope I pronounced that one right, and Christopher Lee, all asking for SHREZZERS. Why can't I say that? I want to put like an H at the end of the Z. Unfortunately, the song that I put into the poll, I checked the poll, I made the poll before I went and checked these because it is an unusual poll. If it was just bands that just random bands and SHREZZERS popped up, I might have picked something specifically out of the YouTube comments, but because we're specifically looking for unusual instruments, we've run into issues before with it's like doom metal, where we get a band that has been doom metal, but the song specifically wasn't. And I want to make sure we're doing Unusual Instruments Week. I want to make sure there's unusual instruments. And people specifically, some of my patrons specifically requested Noodles for this poll. So I know it's kind of vetted by the patrons that it's going to have some unusual instruments. And right off the bat, we can see in the thumbnail, we got a guy with a saxophone. And I'm going to assume that this is some sort of rock or metal. And sax is kind of underrepresented in that. I think the only one we've actually seen, the only one I remember is Rivers of Nile. They had a saxophonist in one song. I think, if I remember the comments correctly, it was a one-off. Like he plays for another band or something, and they were in the, I don't know how it happened, but it's not like he's part of the band and he's always present, always playing sax in Rivers songs. So yeah, let's see what's going on here. Noodles by the band. Noodles by that band. Why can't I say that? Ooh. Yeah. It's got a nice, like, smooth jazz timbre to it.
Wake up, do it now. You are hanging with the wrong crowd. They don't wanna see you rise. Go what's always hide behind lies. Take a chance to change your head.
Those offbeat things in the vocals.
Make a move and don't think twice. Got it on the wrong dice. Before love finds out, you're the one who will make the rules. You're the one who will make the rules.
Interesting. All right, I was gonna mention that the instrumentation wasn't really fitting the growls, the cries, right here though. The guy's a very nice pop vocal style that fits so well with those like clean runs. It's still electrically driven. It's not overdriven though. There's not a lot of distortion on the guitars, and I love that mix.
Stick and stones can break your bones, but words can burn your soul. Escape the prison of perfection and tangle your word hard. Stick and stones can break your bones, but words can burn your soul. Escape the prison of perfection.
High compression, make this more vulnerable. Opens back up. Ooh, I like that guitar. Bring it back into the chorus to close it out. Really cool guitar solos there, just because they are not as overdriven as a lot of guitars that would typically be shredding like that. The song as a whole just has this bright, higher register to it, even though they're playing a lot of stuff that would typically be played in lower registers as far as rock riffs go. Yeah, that saxophone makes me happy. Oh, wait. Okay. Disappeared for a second. I hope it didn't worry anybody. I'm back. So dumb. I don't know why I said that. So this is a strange mix of like smooth jazz, rock, and some hardcore elements, but all kind of done in the guitar tones that we have seen before in stuff like, what's that band called? They did the song Goat. Oh, Polyphia, where there's not a lot of distortion going on. We're working with electric, where the guitar tones are being electrically driven through amps and cabinets, but we're not getting the crunch and the overdrive that we normally see in a lot of heavier rock and guitar. I mean, rock and metal. It has more of a traditional guitar tone to it. And we're seeing a lot of work being done in the higher registers. We're kind of staying away from the lower end of the guitar. In fact, the song as a whole is missing a lot of low end to it. That isn't to say that it needs it. It's just really interesting to hear a song like this that doesn't really focus on that low end, despite having a lot of elements compositionally that we would expect the low end to be present for. The only time we really went, down into some lower notes was during the second verse, maybe. I don't know what you would call it. It was right after the first chorus, when we went into the fry section, and we kind of had like a hardcore breakdown going on in the guitars and drums, and they were a bit in the lower end. But the rest of the song, everything else was a bit in the higher registers. We didn't really have a lot of the bassiness, and to me, like I said, that kind of reminds me more of jazz elements, especially when you combine that with the tone. And it's really cool to hear more of a jazz tone being played with rock composition. A lot of the the chords, the chord progressions, the guitar solos, a lot of what we're seeing, and compositionally with the way that the notes are related to each other, um, it's more reminiscent of rock and metal. Maybe some hardcore stuff in there as well, but it's just this really cool mashup of tone and composition ideas, melodies. Uh, that's I don't know. I can't say I've ever heard it before. It's a really interesting combination, and I think that's like my big thing here. Other than, of course, we're here for unusual instruments. We gotta talk about the elephant in the room. Dude brings a sax to a hardcore band, and I love it. It doesn't it doesn't really have that same sort of energy that the saxophone in Rivers of Nile had, and I think that's because Nile still kind of leaned into some of their metal aspects, and it was a lot more contrasting to hear the saxophone. Here, the saxophone fits in quite nicely, mostly due to the fact that a lot of the tones kind of fit into a jazz ideology or jazz listening space. Ideology, what was I talking about? A jazz listening space, and you're just, to me, saxophone is just very jazzy. um, it does have its place in orchestras and the such, but to me, if I hear a solo jazz, I mean a solo sax, I'm gonna be thinking jazz. Like that is to me one of the quintessential jazz sounds is an alto saxophone. Um, so it fits in a lot better here just because of tone and texture. But that doesn't mean that it's completely that is not unusual. It does. It is really interesting to hear a lot of these hardcore elements and rock and metal elements, and have this saxophone playing right alongside it. But that kind of leads me to my next point, in that he isn't always playing right alongside it. He pops up in the chorus to harmonize, not harmonize, to widen some of the chorus sounds going on in the guitar work. It's a little difficult to actually hear the sax because he's playing exactly what the guitar is playing, and it kind of gets morphed into a single sound, just the background sound to the singer. But the times that the saxophone is playing by himself is usually some of the less rock, less metal aspects. Um, it really shows up between singing parts and during the bridge, which was kind of the solo section. Everybody was kind of soloing. And while there was a bit of shredding going on in the guitars, there it still wasn't, because of the tone, feeling like a rock or a metal guitar or a solo section. It was feeling more to me like a jazz solo section, especially with the way that they were kind of overlapping each other, which was really cool. Usually, when you see people trading off solos, you have this guy playing, he plays his 8 bars, this guy plays, he plays his 8 bars, and they go back and forth until we leave the section. That's how it tends to be in a lot of rock and metal. And in jazz, there's a lot more playfulness to it. If especially if you've played with the Cats before. Like if you've been playing with this dude for 2 weeks, and you're starting to really understand the way that he flows in his solos, you might start your solo 2, 3, 4 beats in advance and kind of play along with him as you kind of know what's going on. Maybe you'll set it up early and it'll be a little bit more scripted. Maybe not, though. Like you just kind of have that understanding. And it's kind of risky. That gets a little hit and miss if you're trying to do it all improvised. But there's also the um, inter solo playfulness. If you listen to a lot of jazz, you'll come across this, especially between the soloist and the drummer. If the soloist decides to start repeating a pattern, maybe the first two beats of every bar will be 2/8 notes, kind of like a da 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 da, and then he'll do like a little run on 3 and 4, and then you get the da da da, and he creates a sort of call and response to his own stuff. If a drummer is paying attention, he'll jump in on that, right? He might start doing the call, he might start doing the response to the call, or maybe he'll change up his rhythm to match, to accent those 2/8 on beat 1 and 2. Um, and it's sort of this way to have fun and have this sort of multi musician playfulness in solo sections rather than it just being cut out. This is your time, this is your time. And we saw a little bit of that here where we had people playing with each other during the solo sections. So that was pretty cool. Like I said, though, because of some of that stuff, it felt to me more like a jazz solo section rather than a rock section. And that's kind of how I feel about the song as a whole, is that it's what if smooth jazz, but some rock elements, and less of a rock song with a saxophone in it. Which is still interesting because at the end of the day, despite me kind of feeling that it's jazz song first, rock second, it's still at its heart, to me, I would still label this as a rock song, even though my experience with it is not necessarily primarily rock based. There's still just a lot of elements to it that feel rocky in its overall flow, the way that it goes between sections and the way that the sections are laid out in the composition and stuff like that. Plus the instrumentation, even though a lot of it does feel jazzier in tone, the instrumentation is still rock. You got your guitars, your bass, your drum, and your singer. Singer's voice, dude, though, it's gorgeous. He has a real nice pop tone to it. A little bit of that airy vulnerability, lots of falsetto in there, and just a really clean, forward singing, nice pop vocal sound. I love it. The I don't know if it was a different person, the person doing the fries, um, but to me, as much as I've talked in the past about how I like blending things and how I enjoy songs that have cleans and fries in it, it was just out of place for me. I like the way that it changes things up and how they enter into more of a hardcore breakdown for that section. The rhythmic elements in the guitar and drums were more spacious there, more of a breakdown where you get the da da da, ba da ba ba da da da, and you get more of the space between the notes and bits of silence rather than a lot of the runs or straight strumming that we were seeing in the other sections. I do like how that created some contrast to the rest of the song. I also like how it added some bassiness to it. It kind of went to the low end, dropping down all the way to the end of the neck as far as the guitars are concerned, to create again some context or some contrast to the rest of the track. But it didn't really feel like it was necessary. It added contrast. It was something new to listen to, but I don't think it enhanced anything with its contrast, and it definitely felt out of place, specifically since it didn't come back. I think if we had seen that after, it would have been a bit trite. This is kind of a normal thing to do, but if it had come back a second time and we had a harsh verse and then the clean chorus or something like that. Like I said, I know that's super trite. Everybody does that. But just having it show up one more time, even if it was after the guitar section, you don't necessarily need to bring back that exact section, but bring back the fries, or on the final chorus, bring back some fries to harmonize with the clean, something to, cement that as a part of the song and not a section that was shoehorned in. So, like I said, I enjoy it for its contrast, but I don't really think it fit and it didn't add anything. And at the end of the day, I think the song is improved without it, if there is no way to add it to more of the song. But as the song is right now, we either needed more of it or less of it. Definitely one of the two. I don't think it fit the way it is. It came out of nowhere, and when it left, it was just gone. It wasn't. It didn't come back. it feels more shoehorned in than actually fitting in because it fits with the song. But overall, I really dig what these guys are doing. Like I said, we have a lot of smooth jazz elements in here as far as tone and texture. The clean electric guitars sound phenomenal, and they really help the saxophone feel at home inside of this rock setup. The sax does not feel out of place or unusual, despite this being Unusual Instruments Week. It doesn't feel out of place where it's at. But overall, I kind of wish that the heavy section either came back again or was just pulled entirely. I don't think it added much. Interesting band though. Is the saxophonist a permanent addition? I mentioned this a couple of times in the Rivers Nile where I was like, yeah, this is awesome. I need to listen to more of it. And I was disheartened when people in the comments told me the saxophonist is not a permanent member of the band. There are not many more songs with him. There are not many more. There aren't that many songs with him in it. And I was like, dang, that's disappointing. But is the saxophonist a you know a static part of this band? Is he always around? Is he part of the band? Do they write saxophone parts in all their songs? And is there a song that showcases the saxophone more prominently rather than being in places where the singer isn't, which I stated earlier, it's sort of an on and off again. He's unlike the guitars that are present everywhere throughout the song, or the drums that are present everywhere throughout the song. The saxophone kind of pops in every once in a while and then takes 32 bars of break or whatever, and that's just a little disappointing that they can't. Well, for this song, they couldn't find a way to incorporate the saxophone somehow in every section. Um, that's just me, though. I'm sure some people might feel that the saxophone is perfectly spotlighted where it needs to be, and any more would be too much. So, everybody's got opinions about it. I'm not here saying that my opinions are right, the best way, or the only way to write music. These are just my opinions. All right, so that's my thoughts on SHREZZERS. SHREZZERS. I think I'm saying that right. I don't know. That second syllable just feels weak without the H, but it definitely is not SHREZZERS. Because it just sounds dumb. And an H isn't in the word, obviously. But SHREZZERS, you have like this shred, like lots of width at the first one, then zers. So it's a weak finale to that. I don't know. My mouth does not want to pronounce it that way. Anyways, though, that's my thoughts on SHREZZERS. This is where you guys come into the comments. Let me know what you thought about the band. If there's anything you enjoyed, didn't enjoy, if you agree with me. If you didn't agree with me, let me know in the comments. Also, like I said, is the saxophonist a permanent member of the band? And is there any other song that maybe features him more prominently than this one? Those are the two sort of questions I have specifically for SHREZZERS fans. All right, above that is the description box. There is links in there, as I mentioned earlier, to the Thankmas donation drive to put food in kids' mouths this season. Not every family has the money to do that. Unfortunately, lots of poverty going around with COVID. So I think it is a phenomenal sort of charity run that Red Nose Day is doing, especially this year. I think it's very important this year specifically because of COVID. There's other links in there too, but that's the most important to me right now. If you'd like to join the Patreon or the Discord or the Twitter, whatever, links are all in there. But yeah, the Red Nose Day Thankmas thing is the most important link to me in there. I will be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC as usual, with the next song for Unusual Instruments Week. And then we have one coming up. I don't know. What day is today? Today's Wednesday. So then, yeah, we got one tomorrow, one on Friday. And I don't know if I'm doing special selection this week, but next week and the week after, I will not be posting videos. I will be taking the winter break off with my family. My daughter will be out of school. And between Christmas and New Year's and getting ready to go back into school, I think it's just a really good time to spend with family and take a little bit of time off of this. We did 300 and 320 videos this year, 330 videos this year. It's just wild. So yeah, I'm just gonna take a small little break. There will be videos being posted up, but it will all be old stuff. I'll be finding a way to get up the blocked videos on YouTube and some other stuff. But I will be back on Monday, January 4th, I think. So, yeah, like I said, this weekend's special selection is still on the table. I'm not 100% certain it will happen. I guess it just kind of depends on how I feel on Saturday. If I've already checked out mentally, ready for my little break, I might not do it. So, I will have definitive answer on Friday, though, for sure. All right. So until next time, you guys stay safe out there. Have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening. Whenever you choose to watch my videos. How have I been doing this for a year and I still can't get this sign off right?